Everyone should be working on the new entrance ticket in Google Classroom or your essays. You have 12 minutes to work on the entrance ticket and your essays. Excuse me. Okay. Does anyone need help with their essays? We will be working on the final copy tomorrow.
What is it?
The 2 essays we've been working on.
Oh, okay.
Three minutes.
Miss,
Malachi?
may I get up and get a glass of water?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. 2 minutes. All right, let's get started on today's lesson. You are going to hear, well, not today's lesson, but we're gonna do the announcement first. It is now 8:30, and then we will begin our lesson.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Be Kind Pledge. I pledge to be encouraging, be supportive, be positive, be helpful, be honest, be considerate, be thankful, be responsible, be respectful, and to be a friend. If you come up to grab your meals today between 10:30 and 12:30, we got pulled pork sandwiches and coleslaw with a chocolate chip muffin for breakfast. Again, that's 10:30 to 12:30. We feed all kids under the age of 18 for no cost. Come on up and grab your meals. Way to go, Miss Goodwin's homeroom. They had perfect attendance yesterday, the first day back from break. Way to go, guys. And we have one Lexia superstar today. Violet Toro Ariano, you are a Lexia superstar. Nice work. Trivia question from yesterday. It went pretty quick. Did you get it? The following folks said it was 312. Isaiah Hector Thad from Miss Medrano. We had Ayla Leon that got it correct. And from Miss Jaspers, we had Julian Alexander, Ronald Emiliano, Jaden, Naraya, Perla, Preston, Kaylee, Giovanni, Francisco, Chloe, and Claudio. Congratulations to those guys. They caught it. It was pretty quick. Congratulations to the Cardinals on an awesome win last night. Speaking of football, I know we have a lot of Mexican football fans or soccer fans. On a soccer ball, trivia question for today is how many panels are on a soccer ball? Those little objects on the soccer ball are panels. How many panels are on a soccer ball? Good luck. Attention 8th graders, if you are interested in being nominated for the Superintendent Student Council to join Dr. DeBlue and her awesome team, remember things are due this Friday. Some of those things are those reference checks. So go back to your Google Classroom and check on those requirements and let me know if you're interested in signing up to be selected as a representative for our Superintendent Student Council. Remember, items are due this Friday. Thank you. Good morning, Pendergast staff and students. Today is October the 20th. It is Tuesday. Thank you so much for getting up and getting on Zoom for these morning announcements each and every day. We love having you. If you have something you'd like to share on the announcements, please be sure to send me a video or an email. I'd love to include you, or a shout out to anyone you'd like as part of the morning announcements. Teachers, just a reminder, and students, a reminder, tomorrow Wednesday is early release. The PD is all around Illuminate. Teachers are going to learn how to use more of the features of the Illuminate software. That way we can help our students with the assessment piece and being able to plug those into Google Classroom and Seesaw as kind of the next steps for that, how to use those assessments. iPads, teacher, new iPads are in. Please text Mr. Hancock or I to make sure one of us is at school, but come on up this week and get your new iPad. Please be sure to bring your old iPad with you when you come up. That way we can swap those out and get your very own new full-size iPad for the teachers. That's exciting. 8th graders, only a few more days left to get your Superintendent Student Council applications and paperwork in. Be sure to text or be sure to email me if you are interested in running for that office. We'd love to have you. Again, we can only nominate one from Pendergast, so I need all these applications in soon so we can make some decisions here at the school. That's about all we have for you today. Have a great Tuesday. Make great choices. Do what's expected the very best you can. Have a great day, and we'll see you around very, very soon. Bye-bye.
All righty. So let's go to our slides. Yesterday we started reading. We saw a lot of images that had to do with farming and animals and crops, all of that good stuff. Today we are going to, if I can get this up here, we are going to dig a little bit deeper. We're going to read a little bit, and then we are going to answer some questions. So all cameras should be on. You're expected to have your cameras on. Whether it's pointing at the ceiling or at a door, that's fine as long as it's on and I know that you are in class. All right, so we're going to Tuesday. Come on. It's going very slow today. So for Tuesday, first thing we're going to look at is how do we figure out what is happening in our text. And we're going to be using those 5 W's and the H in order to help us figure out what the author is talking about, what's the main character, and right now our main character is corn for this article. What is the story about? It's about food. And what is the problem? There is a dilemma. Dilemma means problem. We need to figure out what that problem is. When does the event take place or happen? It's been all through history. When does it take place? Every day. Where does it take place? Corn is everywhere in billboards. I had no idea that it was there. Where did it take? Who were the characters? Corn, animals, soda pop. Corn is in soda. All kinds of things. Why did the problem happen? First, we need to know what the problems are, because there's a couple of them. And then why did they happen? Probably because corn spread around the world. Why did they solve it that way? We got to find out if it's been solved. How? How did they solve the problem? We don't know. That's something that we're still looking at. And how does the story end? That's probably something that will be determined in the future. What I need for you to do right now is in your composition books. Everybody should have a composition book. You need to open up to the very first page. And this is where we're going to start our table of contents. So open up your book, turn to the very first page inside the cover. Okay? At the top, you are going to write table of contents at the very top. All right, so it looks like this. Table of contents at the top of your page. Everyone should have a book.
Miss, do we skip any pages or no, just the first one we open up to?
That's the very first page that you open up to. And that's going to be your table of contents. Now on the side, where the pink line is, you're going to put page number. And I put page and the pound sign. And hopefully once I have my iPad, I'll be able to show you this a lot easier. Okay, so table of contents across the top, page number in the side, the pink line on the side. Everybody should have a composition book and you should be writing in it. Okay, now once you have that completed, go to the very bottom in the space below and you're going to put a Roman numeral 1. It looks like an old-fashioned capital I. Okay, you want to put that at the very bottom of the page. Now you're going to turn this page over to the back side, very back, and at the bottom, inside the pink line, you're going to put a Roman numeral 2, which is 2 I's together. Okay, it looks like that. Now, across the top and the fat margin area, you're going to put table of contents, just like you did on the front side. And you're going to put the page number again on the side. So that it looks like this. Table of contents in the top margin, page number on the side in the pink line. Okay, that's all you're gonna do for that page, front and back. Front side, back side. Now, on the very bottom of the very next page, you're gonna start numbering your pages. And remember, odd numbers will be on the right side, even numbers will be on the left. So now you're gonna use a regular number 1, put 1 on the next page at the bottom, turn that over, and now you're gonna put number 2 at the bottom of that page. Three on the next page, then 4, and keep going until you get to page 12. Okay, now the last one I have is page 12. Once you have that completed, then I want you to go to the table of contents. Go back to the table of contents. And you're gonna put your first title. Can you see that? Under table of contents, you're gonna put reading strategies and skills. Reading strategies and skills. I think that's backwards to you, isn't it? Hang on, I can fix that. Reading strategies and skills.
We put that in the table of contents?
Right up under the title, yeah. Okay, so you should have table of contents at the top. On the next line, you're going to have page numbers. And then below that, on the next line, you should have reading strategies and skills. Okay. And beside that, you're going to put page 1. Okay. Once you have reading strategies and skills, then you're going to go back to your book, and on page 1 at the top, write just reading strategies and skills. Put that at the top of page 1.
Miss, what book?
What?
What book?
In your black and white composition book.
Okay.
So this is the title that goes at the very top of page 1. Reading strategies and skills at the very top. Once you have that written, I want you to page over to number 6, page 6. And you're going to put reading skills at the top of page 6. Reading skills at the top of page 6. Now on page 10, you're going to go from here skip a line. And on page 10, you're gonna put the 5 W's and 1 H.
Miss, if you're trying to show something, we can't see it because it still shows to Tuesday Good Readers one. If you're trying to show something.
Oh, thank you, Victor. I appreciate that. I have to stop this one and do my other one. There we go. Better?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have your table of contents, page numbers, reading strategies and skills on page 1. And then skip a line and you're gonna go to the 5 W's and 1 H. And the page number for this one, oops. Page number for this one is page 10. So at the top of page 10, put the 5 W's and 1 H.
Is that the title for page 10?
Yes. That's the title for page 10. And then page 11, you can go skip a line, is grammar. It's page 11. All right, and we're gonna stop right there, but we're gonna do the 5 W's and H. So in your book, everybody turn to page 10. And once you turn to page 10, I want you to write this information about the 5 W's and H, okay? So put this in your book. I always do a big question mark. It's hard to tell, but it's a big question mark and I write the information in there. And you can color code it if you want to. I'll be looking at all of this when we finally get back onto campus. So you want to write in there your who with the questions, your what with the questions, when, why, where, and how on that page 10.
Do we have to put in a question mark or is it optional?
It's optional as long as you can tell which questions go with which question word, okay? It's up to you.
Okay.
Since I can't do this the normal way in school, we have to make allowances, right?
Do we write what's the words that's under the word, like the who, and then as a question mark, do we write what's under it too?
Write what's under it as well, because this helps guide you when you're asking the question and we're going through the text. What question should I be asking for who? This will help you. Just give me a thumbs up when you're finished.
Miss, if I don't finish that on time, is it okay if I take a screenshot?
You sure can. And this is going to be on your weekly announcements in the classroom information, so you'll be able to see it there too. About 2 more minutes. One more minute. All right. So the purpose of having this information is to help you as you are going through text and you're trying to analyze that text. These are questions that you want to use to help you figure out who the story is about or what the story is about, what the problems are, who the main characters are, when does it happen, where does it happen, why is it happening, and how it gets resolved, okay? So you can always go back to these pages in this book. I keep mine. This has been with me for a long time, but all of my information is in here, so I can go back and check if I have a question about how something is put together, okay? So that is why we're creating the book. It's a journal for you to be able to have answers for reading activities, strategies and skills and grammar, okay? So knowing that, let's move on. Oops. Now, this lesson, we're spreading it out over the next couple of days. We're going to be analyzing the author's point of view and the purpose in an excerpt from the Omnivore's Dilemma. So how do we think when we are reading text about author's purpose, specifically for the ability to write about the article and the text? We also want to know the author's point of view. So I added to your slides this little information piece, and you can pull this up whenever you need to, but we're going to be putting this, if it shows up. Come on, takes a little while. We're going to be adding this into our journal, not today because it takes a lot of time to write down, but we will be adding it, and I'll tell you the page number tomorrow. But I don't want to take all this time writing it down because it's just a lot if it ever shows up. but we need to know what the author's purpose is for writing about this food. Why would he spend so much time investigating food? There we go. Okay, so this little piece right here gives you a lot of information on how to figure out author's purpose, and it tells you how to figure it out in a narrative writing, which some of you are completing at this point. It tells you author's purpose in descriptive writing, persuasive writing, or expository writing, so that way it helps you to be able to ask those questions and know what the author is trying to do. Okay, so that is going to be there for you, and we will get this in our journal. I'll just tell you, it'll be tomorrow or on either tomorrow or on Thursday. But it's there in the slides if you want to get, no, don't get started because I have to put it on a specific page. Do not write that down yet. Anyways, we're going to listen to our story and you are going to be reading. So your cameras need to be on. Look at my slides because I will have the story here. Come on, there we go. It's just slow. All right, so we finished with chapter 1. Now we're going to read chapter 2. What did you think of the story yesterday? Did you know corn was everywhere?
I didn't know it was in a billboard paper.
I didn't either. That was a surprise to me. I didn't realize, I know that sodas have corn syrup, some of them, but I didn't know it was so vast in everything. That was pretty amazing. All right, here we go. Chapter 3, part 1.
Chapter 3, From Farm to Factory.
Oops, sorry, chapter 2. I think I did the wrong one. Hang on.
Also need cheap corn from which. Chapter 1, page 17. How corn took over America.
Hang on. The wrong one popped up. There it is.
To the farm. One farmer, 140 eaters. It was the first week of May, and I was at the wheel of a clattering 1975 International Harvester tractor, driving through an Iowa cornfield. The tractor was dragging a spidery machine called an 8-row planter, which dropped corn seeds into the earth. Driving over that field was like trying to steer a boat through a sea of dark chocolate. The hard part was keeping the thing on a straight line. If you mess up, your rows will wobble, overlapping or spreading apart. Your neighbors will laugh, and worst of all, you will not be able to plant as much corn. The tractor I was driving belonged to George Naylor, a big man with a moon face and a scraggly gray beard. He sat next to me as I drove and tried to shout instructions over the diesel roar. He had on the farmer's usual baseball cap, a yellow shirt, and overalls, the stripy blue kind worn by railroad workers. The field was part of Naylor's farm, 470 acres in Greene County, Iowa. Naylor had been working on the farm for more than 30 years, since he took it over from his father in the mid-1970s. This part of Iowa has some of the richest topsoil in the world, a layer nearly 2 feet thick. It was laid down over 10,000 years ago by retreating glaciers. Tall grass prairie grew here until the mid-1800s, when the sod was first broken by the settler's plow. George's grandfather moved his family to Iowa from Derbyshire, England, in the 1880s. The sight of such soil curling behind the blade of his plow must have made him feel happy and confident. It's gorgeous stuff, black gold, as deep as you can dig, as far as you can see. The far end of the food chain. Back in 1919, when the Naylors bought this land, farming was very different, and so was the Naylor farm. All sorts of crops grew here. Corn, but also fruits and other vegetables, as well as oats, hay, and alfalfa to feed the pigs, cattle, chickens, and horses. Horses were the tractors of the time. Back then, 1 out of every 4 Americans lived on a farm. The average farmer grew enough food to feed 12 other Americans. Less than a century later, the picture is very different. Corn has muscled out most of the other plants and animals. The sheep, chickens, pigs, and horses are gone. So are most of the fruits and vegetables. George Naylor grows only 2 crops on his 470 acres, corn and soybeans. Corn has even pushed most of the people off the farm. Out of 300 million Americans, only 2 million are still farmers. That means the average American farmer today grows enough food to feed 140 other people. The 140 people who depend on George Naylor for their food are all strangers. Like me, they live at the far end of the food chain that is long and complicated. George Naylor doesn't know the people he is feeding, and they don't know him. I came to the Naylor farm as an unelected representative of the 140 people he feeds. I was curious to learn whom and what I'd find at the far end of the food chain that keeps me alive. Of course, I had no way of knowing if it was George or some other farmer who grows the corn that feeds the steer that becomes my steak. That's the nature of the industrial food chain. But I knew that a Midwest cornfield, just like George Naylor's, is the place most of our food comes from. I plant corn. The day I showed up at the farm was supposed to be the only dry one all week, and George was trying to get his last 160 acres of corn planted. A week or 2 later, he'd start in on the soybeans. The soybean has become the second major crop in the industrial food chain, taking turns each year in the field with corn. It now finds its way into 2/3 of all processed foods. For most of the afternoon, I sat on a rough cushion George had made for me from crumpled seed bags. After a while, he let me take the wheel. We drove back and forth across the field a half a mile in each direction. Every pass across this field, which is almost perfectly flat, represents another acre of corn planted. The corn seed we were planting looked like regular kernels of corn, but it was actually something called Pioneer Hybrid 34H31. You and I think of corn as corn, but farmers like Naylor know there are dozens of varieties, most created by large agribusiness companies. That's one of the reasons corn has succeeded so well. It's relatively easy for humans to breed new types of corn to fit our needs. But what's good for corn and agribusiness isn't always good for farmers. That's the case with the new types of corn seed. Back when George's grandfather started farming, farmers grew their own seed. That's the way farmers had always gotten their seed. They just kept some of their crop to be planted for the next season. Then, in the 1930s, seed companies came up with a new kind of corn seed, hybrid corn. A hybrid is a plant or animal whose parents have different traits. For example, you might take a type of corn that resists disease and cross it with another type of corn that produces a lot of ears. The result is a hybrid, a disease-resistant plant that produces a lot of corn. Sounds good, right? The catch is that hybrid corn does not come true. The first crop planted from hybrid corn seed will all be identical. The plants will have all the good traits the seed company promised, but the children of that crop will be mixed. Some plants will be like their hybrid parents, but most will not. The only way to make sure your plants produce the same amount of corn, that they have the same yield as the original hybrid, is to buy new seed every year from a seed company. Hybrid corn quadrupled the yields of farmers from about 20 bushels per acre to about 80 bushels per acre. This was the beginning of a major change in the way farmers operated and the way we get our food. In a way, it was the beginning of the industrial food chain. The secret of modern corn hybrids is that they could be planted very close together. Before hybrids, a farmer could plant 8,000 corn plants in an acre. Today, George can grow 30,000 plants in an acre. Hybrids have been bred for thicker stalks and stronger root systems, the better to stand upright in a crowd. This also makes it possible to harvest them with large machines. Basically, the plants live in a city of corn, crowded together in neat rows. New hybrids have increased farm yields to about 180 bushels per acre. 1 bushel holds 56 pounds of kernel, so 180 bushels is slightly more than 10,000 pounds of food per acre. The field George and I planted that day would produce 1.8 million pounds of corn. Not bad for a day's work sitting down, I thought to myself. Frankenseeds? When farmers first planted hybrid corn in the 1930s, their yields doubled or tripled. But if they planted seed from that first crop, yields dropped again, since the second generation of corn was not identical to the first. The only way to get the higher yields was to buy seed from seed companies. Soon, the only way for a farmer to compete was to buy hybrid seeds every year. Even if farmers face hard times, the seed companies continue to make money year after year, selling farmers something they used to grow themselves. Today, the seed companies have taken things a step further. Genetically modified corn seed, or GMO for genetically modified organism, promises even higher yields than hybrid seed. GMO corn is not bred the old-fashioned way by crossing corn plants.
Okay, they've talked about a couple of words here. One is hybrid. You're going to need to know these words. So when you check out your book from the library, you want to make sure that when you go back through the story, you are highlighting these words. And I can't emphasize enough that you want to make sure that you highlight and put notes for those particular words. Okay, so remember your tools up here. If you want to highlight something, you're going to select it. The result is a hybrid, and our word is hybrid, which is a disease-resistant plant that produces a lot of corn. I want to make sure that's highlighted. And you want to put notes with it, you can do that. And you can change the color, okay? Quadrupled. Some people may not know what that is, but it's to have 4 times, because quad is 4 times the number of corn amount of corn that they normally get. So you want to go through the story and make sure you highlight those particular words, especially our vocabulary words, as we start pulling those up tomorrow, okay? So now GMO, genetically modified organisms. This is really important because people talk about whether their food is genetically modified all the time in this day and age. Is it to make your food better, or does it really cause problems for humans? That's part of the dilemma where we don't know. So let's finish this.
It is created in the laboratory by adding genes to corn DNA. The new genes don't come from corn plants. They might come from a bacteria or some other organism. So with human help, corn can now take genes from other plants and animals. This opens up a whole new world of possibilities for the plant and its breeders.
Now, I would say that is something that could cause a problem. That might be one of the situations that the author is concerned with. These genetically modified seeds is opening up good things, but it's also opening up questions. So I would want to highlight that and put that in my notes as something to look at. That could be a problem, but it could also be a solution. We're not sure.
These new GMO seeds could be a bonanza for the seed companies. No one can own the species called corn. It is part of the natural world, the common property of all humanity. But with GMOs, a company can own a patent on a living organism. When Monsanto or some other corporation invents a new type of corn, it belongs to them, and they can charge farmers for the right to grow it.
Now, this is a company that has been, I hate when that happens, that has been investigated, and they are currently paying money to people who have gotten sick from their chemicals. They are part of the GMO corporation. Go away. Stop. All right, anyways, I'm trying to highlight Monsanto, but it's not going to let me. So Monsanto could be something that you read about as your research articles, okay? So that word down there, Monsanto, that's a company that has produced GMO products. So as we're going through here, you might find different things that you want to research and create an argumentative essay about. Monsanto Company could be one of those corporations.
But many farmers, like George Naylor, refuse to grow GMO crops. They believe that GMOs are a reckless experiment with the natural order of things. Corn versus everyone. When George Naylor's grandfather was farming, the typical Iowa farm was home to many different plant and animal species. At the top of the list were horses, because every farm needed working animals. After horses were cattle, chickens, and then corn. After corn came hogs, apples, hay, oats, potatoes, and cherries. Many Iowa farms also grew wheat, plums, grapes, and pears. This diversity, with many different types of crops, allowed the farmer to get by if prices fell for any one crop. The arrival of high-yield corn changed all that. It changed the very landscape of Iowa as corn drove out the other plants and animals, and even many of the people. As yields grew and farmers grew more corn, prices dropped. Suddenly, it was cheaper to feed corn to cattle instead of raising them on hay or grass. People also found it cheaper to feed corn to chickens and hogs. A new business emerged. Cattle, pigs, and chickens started being stuffed full of corn in large factory-type operations called feedlots. So the animals disappeared from the farm, and with them, the pastures and hayfields and fences. The horses began to disappear when the farmers started buying tractors. In the place of the pastures, the farmers planted more corn, and sometimes soybeans. Now the corn began to push out people too. A farm of corn and soybeans doesn't require nearly as much human labor as the old-fashioned farm full of different kinds of crops. Bigger tractors and machines, chemical weed killers, and artificial fertilizer made it easier for one farmer to handle more acres. Growing corn is just riding tractors and spraying, Naylor told me. It only takes a few weeks of work over a year to raise 500 acres of industrial corn. So the farms have gotten bigger, but fewer people live on them.
Okay. Does anyone see a problem in what's happening here? If you go back and you look at this first image here, notice all of the different things that used to be part of a farm. Now, in 2002, look how small that list has gotten. What are some of the changes that are occurring due to corn on the farm? Farming in the past, farming currently. The white parts is where all the farming has disappeared. Can you see a problem? What do you think about it? These are things to reflect on. Here we go.
When Naylor's grandfather arrived in America, the population of Greene County was near its peak, 16,467 people. In the 2006 census data, it had fallen to below 10,000. The town of Churden in the center of the county is like a ghost town. The barber shop, a food market, and the local movie theater have all closed in recent years. The middle school has so few students left, it can no longer field a baseball team. It takes 4 local high schools to field a single football team, the Jefferson, Scranton, Patton, Churden Rams. Just about the only business left standing in Churden is the grain elevator, the tall structure where corn is stored before it is shipped elsewhere. The elevator stands at the far end of the town like a windowless concrete skyscraper. It still makes money because people are no people. The corn keeps coming, more of it every year.
Okay. Many, many changes. What I would like for you to do is a reflection. What is called a reflection. These are going to go into your grammar books as well. So what I need for you to do as you are waiting and getting through classes is by this afternoon, when you get to page 141 in your book, and it should be on the left side, or the right side when it's facing you, and you're going to put reflection log at the top. At the top, you're going to put reflection log, and let me show you what that looks like. You're going to go to page 141 in your journal. At the top, you're going to put reflection log. in the center of the page, okay? So this is just directions. You want to make sure you go to page 141 in your journal. At the top, you're going to put reflection log, skip a line, and I'm just going to put an X there so you skip a line. And on the next line, you're going to put the date, which is today's date, October 2020, dash over, and you're going to put today in class, we read chapter 2 of the
Can't say anything.
yeah. Oh, let me see if this will work. Hang on. All right, can you see it? This is going to be
Yeah.
141 of your journal. Reflection log is your title. You can even make it big and bold. Okay, skip a line, and then you're going to put the date, and you're going to start writing.
Miss, is this at the last page of the book?
No, it's not the last page. It's on page 141, which is about 58 pages away from the last page. Okay,
Okay.
so you're going to put information about what you read, what we read about how corn has grown so much that it has completely changed how farming happens. And then put your own thoughts in there. What did you learn? What do you think about farming and only having corn out there? All right. So put that information, and you want to make it about 5 to 6 sentences, good sentences. You can put data in there if you want to know data, like how Monsanto has created chemicals to help the corn last, but how is it affecting people? These are things that you put into your journal, your log, okay? So you need to number your pages all the way to page 151, 141, and then on page 141, write your reflection. Are there any questions about that?
No.
Okay, so a couple of things. Make sure your journal gets numbered. Make sure you put the 5 W's and the H information on page 10, and on page 141 is your first reflection, which is going to be today's date. Okay? and do your entrance ticket from today. Questions? Concerns? All right, I'll see you later. Guys, are you there? Bobby, did you get my note?
Yeah.
Hi, Christian. All right. I can't go back up there without permission. So as soon as I set up another date, I'll let you know. Okay?
Okay.
All righty. See you later. See all of you at 12:30 or at 11, whenever specials is.
Bye.
Bye-bye.